Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I want to keep her from my dad when she asks why I don't try to integrate my step and half siblings into my life more? My parents are divorced. It happened when I, 16 female, was 7 years old. I remember back then that money was bad, and I learned pretty soon after that my mom was terribly financially irresponsible. The cause of the divorce was she took out a secret credit card and racked up debts behind my dad's back. And then when he found out, she refused to get help or get another job to pay off the debt. She has always had a thing for nice jewelry. Life with my mom was very tough. We were homeless on her time, and we would go from place to place. My dad had temporary custody of me for a while until she found a place. But then she would overspend and miss rent, so we moved around a crap ton. She met her husband when I was 9, and he had an 8-year-old son and a 6-year-old daughter. And together, they were really freaking bad with money. My dad ended up with temporary custody of me again, because they blew $10,000 on a wedding when they didn't even have $500 in savings combined, and had no help from family to pay. They had a baby while dealing with the debt, and then another after she got some more custody of me, and then they had a third. So full-time, they have 5 kids in the house, 6 with me. They're forced to move a lot, and because of their spending, the kids don't have a lot of stuff. I spend Fridays and Saturdays there once a month, and an occasional midweek dinner. My step and half siblings all want more time with me. They have asked to come home to my dad's with me. Sometimes they will try to interact with him and ask to be included in stuff, and my mom always tries to get my dad to include them, but he says no. The other night, she called and asked why I didn't try to include them more. I told her it was because I want to keep her from my dad, that she left him picking up some pretty crappy pieces, and he shouldn't have to make up for her actions again with her kids who were nothing to him. That my dad has done his very best to give me the stability she wants, and the least I could do is spare him from dealing with her again. She's still ranting at me for what I said. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. They're your siblings. They're not your children. If they want more time with you, then they can ask to have you around more. Your mom can rant and rave all she wants, but you're setting a healthy boundary. If she doesn't like it, she can get over it. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they either know how crappy their living situation is and are curious about what your life is like with your dad, or mom could be telling them to try to stay with you and dad because she wants some relief. Regardless, not your problem for setting a clear boundary. Yeah, I don't think it's so much they want to spend more time with Opie, but that they are desperate for stability her dad provides. I feel really badly for those kids. Of course, they want to spend time in a more stable environment Opie has access to. But this is not Opie's problem to solve, nor her dad's responsibility. Not day-hole. You are remarkably well-adjusted for what you've experienced. Not day-hole, Opie. You've pretty much handled this as well as anyone could be expected to. I applaud you for your efforts to keep things in perspective and behave accordingly. As far as your mother is concerned, if she refuses to dial down her efforts to change her mind on the issue, you can always point out that you're now old enough to decide where you permanently reside, including visitation, and that her behavior is not helping her case. Not stay home. They're not your dad's children, so there is no reason why they should be included. Included in what? It almost sounds like your mother is trying to leech more off your dad. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I, 30 male, don't invite my step-siblings, 19 female, 20 female, 23 female, and 25 male, to my vacation home? My mom married her now husband when I was 25. I'd only met her then husband once before the wedding, because I lived on the other side of the country and it was an especially busy year for that year. My impressions after having met him that one time were anything but positive. However, I felt it was nothing to worry about and not really my business, as my mom's choices are her own, and how much of an impression can you really get meeting someone once? Then a few days before her wedding, I met the rest of his family, and it reaffirmed my initial feelings about the guy. His groomsmen and him were dressed as a biker gang as a theme. His oldest daughter actively tried to get me in front of my girlfriend who I brought as a date, and his other 2 daughters had to stay home as the wedding was child-free. The entire wedding was a debacle, as pretty much everyone on my mom's husband's side of the invitees were wasted. His daughter was caught having activities with a good friend of my new stepfather, who was at least 2.5 times her age in the bathroom, which almost caused a fight. Mom went home almost in tears, which is when they had another surprise. My 2 new stepsisters decided to have a party of their own, which resulted in half the house being trashed, a bunch of stuff missing, and a lot of beds were being occupied by, shall we say, other people. Suffice to say, we had to kick a bunch of people out of the house. Me and my girlfriend ended up staying in a motel and went home the next day. The only decent person in that family was the son, as he seemed to be embarrassed the entire day. Poor kid. It didn't improve much from that point onwards. The oldest daughter never gave up her weird infatuation with me, which made every visit extremely weird. Not a single visit went by without at least someone being wasted. And making it even worse was my mom really pushing for me to accept these people as family. That led me to distancing myself and visiting at most once a year. Meanwhile, I am very close with my dad, his wife, and her kids. Skip to these days. I bought a vacation home and ended up inviting my dad, his wife, and her kids along with my girlfriend and her family. We had a great time, and it was a welcome change from not having been able to take a vacation in a while. My mom ended up seeing a bunch of pictures of the vacation on my girlfriend's social media. I don't use social media. And inquired when we were gonna ask her to come. And, well, there was the issue. I would love to invite my mom and a bunch of extended family from her side of the family. Aunts, uncles, nephews, cousins, etc. But I'm pretty sure my mom will take her husband, which I could deal with. But I have no doubt she'll also want to invite and take along her husband's kids. Which, aside from the son, I don't want anywhere even near anything I own. So here I am. Not today, home. I'd be happy to have you and your husband come for a stay, Mom. But I am not inviting your stepkids. Do you remember what happened at your wedding? I do. And every time I've visited, their behavior has made me extremely uncomfortable. I will not invite them into my home, so please don't ask. No matter how much you nag, I am not going to change my mind. And that's it. That's all you say, and you don't respond to any excuses or demands that might result. She will only argue with you if you keep the conversation going. Seems fair. Can't help to feel harsh, though. But why does it feel harsh? Have these people ever hosted you and your family? Have they done anything? That's normal, I mean, to create a relationship with you. You already know that at least one of them doesn't know what a healthy boundary is. The rest of them don't seem very responsible either. You don't really know these people, and you've done your best to ensure that you see them as little as possible. So why would you risk your property and the safety of the rest of your guests in order to cater to irresponsible adults that you don't like? That doesn't seem harsh to me at all. I think it is largely because a large part of me feels extremely bad for my mom. It is trying to understand what she sees in this dude and his kids that makes her try so hard to get me involved too. Not stay home. Your house, so you're saying who stays there. On my point of view, I would invite nobody. Not your mother, not her husband, not the kids. As it started bad during the wedding, it will end worse in your house. Stay your ground and keep them out of your life. I don't want to downright boot my mom from my life, but I am inching closer to that though. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for giving our son's saved funds to our goddaughter and grandson? Hello, I've come across similar stories in this subreddit and have come to share mine. I've recently made a decision which have my son and some other family members hating me for it, but my partner and I are together in this decision. We have an account with money saved for my son, who is currently 22. This isn't exactly college funds because we have government subsidies, but just for easier referencing for Americans. Savings we made since he was young, and they were intended for his school, family, business, or whatever he needs when he becomes an adult. My son met this girl in his school when he was about 15. It had introduced her to us and we were accepting for their relationship. We consider her our daughter and form a good relationship with her parents. My son and the girl broke up a year ago when she got pregnant. He does not want the baby, but she does, and she insisted on giving birth with or without him around. I'm not sure about their whole story, but since our families are close and both me and my partner like this girl, we decided to stay in her and our grandson's life and we call her our goddaughter, while my son moved away to pursue his career. Being a single mother is hard, and because the girl's family is less well off than ours, we decided to use the savings we got from my son for our grandson and goddaughter. We even told her she can move in with us. Though she declined, the door is open and we will provide any support we can for them. My son will be fine without them. He earns his own living and is not suffering from lack of money. When my son got to know that we gave his money to his ex, he got very upset and said that the money was promised to him, that he may need them in future, and that I had chosen his ex over him. He was already unhappy with us keeping our relationship with her family and baby, but this one made him feel like he got betrayed by his own family and have nobody to depend on. The explanation I gave him is that she needs the funds now, and need them more, while for him it's money in case of emergency. Furthermore, the child is my grandson whether my son like it or not. so we have every right to help our family. My son has turned this into a family drama, and some of the others in extended families are saying we did him wrong. Are we really? Not today home. It's ultimately your money. Simply being told it was to help him out doesn't make it his. On top of that, you're using it to support the child it sounds like he isn't supporting. It's similar to not getting an inheritance he thought he was getting, except you're still alive. Some of the others in extended families are saying we did him wrong. Turnabout is fair play as far as I'm concerned. He feels his parents did him wrong while quite literally doing his own kid wrong. Let him wallow in his own pity party. Love this. He is being a full-on hypocrite. Tell him to man up and take care of his kid. And by the way, he is 22. He has been an adult for a while. His mommy and daddy need to explain actions and consequences, which is obviously something he has not learned yet. You are being way too easy on him. Next time he or any family member comes whining to you, go full on hammer time. And let him know how ashamed and embarrassed you are of him. And I sincerely hope you are. His actions deserve nothing but scorn. It ought to be rewarded by giving him fun money. You are great for standing by your grandson, but seems like you've already enabled him way too much. He acts like that and expects free money from you? Hell to the no. Not stay home. As far as I'm concerned, the money is going to him. It's just going towards fulfilling his obligation as a father. If you don't mind me asking, does he often treat women this way? Like, was he just scared, or does he make a habit of treating women poorly? He used to treat the girl very well, like a princess in his words, and they have been together for years, unless there are things they did not tell me. He changed after COVID struck and had lost some money, but still had enough to sustain himself. As far as I know, he wanted to start anew by moving elsewhere for a change, but the girl was unwilling, and at the worst time possible, she got pregnant. They argued over keeping or terminating, and they separated since then. Last story. Am I the a-hole for restricting my daughter's visitation time before her dad deploys? My 36 female children, 4 total, spend every other weekend with my ex-husband and his wife, including my oldest 16 female who is not biologically or legally his. This past spring, the wife got a new job that would prevent her from transporting my children to and from school since they live outside of the district. It is not a civil situation at all, and there is a severe lack of communication coming from them. I heard through my children that my oldest would be driving them to and from school from now on. My daughter got her license 3 months earlier and is not quite comfortable driving on her own yet. She is far too inexperienced to drive that commute in rush hour traffic twice a day with all of her siblings in the car, one of which has behavioral problems and is prone to tantrums in the morning. I texted them when I heard this and told them they would need a different plan for transportation. It is not safe. The response I got was cursing and name-calling, accusing me of trying to control them. They never even asked why I was against it. They lied several times about the new transportation plan would be. But when I told them I would not send her to their home if they intended to use her as a chauffeur, my ex took time off of work to drive them until the school year ended. At the beginning of summer, I contacted them and proposed a plan that would get her more ready to drive them, since I assumed they would need her to do it this fall. The plan was for us to go in 50-50 on a car for her, so she could drive herself and the younger kids to and from his house for drop-offs. That would get her used to the car, the commute, and driving her siblings without a set arrival time or worrying about classes. Crickets. Then a couple of weeks later, I brought it up again and was told they would not discuss it. So I told them they needed another plan, because without the prep time, it could not be her. Right before the school started, I insisted they tell me the plan for transportation and was told very aggressively that she would be driving them. As a mother, the only way for me to keep all of my children safe is to remove her from the equation. My words didn't matter, so I was left with action. My ex deploys in January, but to nowhere dangerous. Currently, my 3 youngest go to their house every other weekend, and my oldest only on weekends to avoid them having her drive them to school behind my back. I've spoken with her about the situation, and she understands as she was uncomfortable with the idea to begin with. She has told me that if they told her to drive them, she would feel bad for saying no, and would do it to appease them even if she felt it was dangerous. Now X says I am vindictive, manipulative, and ripping his daughter away from him right before he deploys. Am I the a-hole? If they intended to use her as a chauffeur, this right here is the problem. When you first noted that your eldest is not your ex's biological or legal daughter, my first reaction was, what difference does that make? Is she not part of the family? The rest of your post explains that. No, indeed she's not. They intend to use her as a chauffeur, which is why they don't reply. And when they do, they reply with cursing and yelling and other attacks. Not only do you need to do this to protect your eldest and the rest of your kids, you should think about a modified custody arrangement. This is unsafe, and it sucks for all of them. As it is, you're doing what you can to protect your children, so you are not day-hole all the way. Jumping on this to say, depending on where you are, it may be illegal for her to drive them. There are often restrictions for young drivers because they're inexperienced. In my state, someone who is 16 is only allowed to have one person under the age of 16 in the car with them if there isn't someone over the age of 21 with them as well. Definitely not day-hole. Not day-hole. Let's either be a master, corporal, or major depending on his status, because that's the kind of bullcrap people with limited power pool. Daughter said she isn't comfortable. End of story. They need to find another solution. Aren't there any buses? They live in a different county, so buses aren't an option on their weeks. Not stay home. You're a great mom. You're listening to your daughter's needs and act accordingly. Imagine if your daughter has an accident where some of her siblings get hurt. That would be devastating for her. She's not ready for that kind of responsibility. That's actually one of the things I explained to her as my reasoning. I can't put her in the position to have to live with something like that, and I won't. Thank you for seeing that.